How's it going, guys? I hope you guys are having a great week. So it's that time of the month again, guys. It's time to do another What Do We Know So Far video. This month is going to showcase Days Gone. So here is everything that we know so far about Days Gone. So Days Gone is the next PlayStation 4 exclusive to come out this month, and it's by Bend Studio. The game has actually been in development for the past 6 years, and if you don't know much about Bend Studio, they're a pretty small studio that have brought us previous titles like Siphon Filter on the original PlayStation 1 and Uncharted: A Golden Abyss, which came out on the PS Vita. This is the first big, huge sort of AAA title that they've ever done. It's quite an ambitious project for them, and I'm kind of excited to see what they have to offer. So what is Days Gone? Well, it is an open world survival horror type game, and it is set for release on the 26th of April. The premise for Days Gone is Sons of Anarchy meets The Walking Dead. You exist in a post-apocalyptic world. It's set a couple of years after a big pandemic has hit the world, and the human population have been infected by a deadly virus that has kind of turned them into zombie-like creatures, which are called freakers. They're not exactly zombies, and I'm going to cover that in more detail later on in the video. So the story centers around the main protagonist, a guy called Deacon St. John. He is played by Sam Witwer, and Deacon basically used to be part of the mongrel MC bike gang. In his history, he suffered a great loss. He actually was married to a woman called Sarah, and we don't know much about his past except that the fact that he has suffered a lot of loss, and he only has one friend by the name of Boozer. So in the actual game, you play as a bounty hunter struggling to survive in a post-apocalyptic Oregon. Deacon generally represents the themes of brotherhood, camaraderie, loyalty, and of course his love of the open road. This of course comes from his past as a biker. Deacon never quite fits in, and he's always a bit of a lone wolf, and he's always kind of on the outside, trying to fit in, trying to find his place in the world. It is going to be a very human story, and the story is pretty much going to revolve around Deacon himself, what happened to him, how he became this way, and obviously what his future holds. That is the general story. A lot of people have drawn parallels to The Last of Us. Obviously, it's a PlayStation 4 exclusive. It's set in a post-apocalyptic world with zombie type creatures, so it's not surprising that people have made that comparison. But one way in which Days Gone is different is that it is a completely open world, and it's this open world setting and open world nature of the game that makes it quite unique. So the world map looks absolutely huge, and it is based on the state of Oregon. I don't know much about Oregon, but the developers did talk about the fact that the world is brutal and harsh. Actually, apparently 80% of Oregon is high desert and also dense forest and caves. So the terrain, the map, the world that you're going to be exploring, it's going to be quite varied in terms of its environment. There are 6 regions in the game that you can explore. The world has dynamic weather systems, as well as a dynamic day and night cycle, and a full ecosystem. The developers are coining this the freakosystem. So there are different elements in the world that will interact with each other, different factions, different creatures that will attack each other and vie for dominance. So the world is deadly, and one of the terms that is constantly coming up in the trailers is this idea of the world is out to get you. So you as Deacon play as a lone wolf, and you're trying to survive all these different deadly elements. So as you explore the open world, you could come across freakers, which are infected humans, marauders or rippers. The rippers are a branch of marauders. They're a cult known as the Rest in Peace cult, and they basically worship the freakers and actually want to be like them. So the freakers and rippers will interact in the world, but you will never see them fighting each other or attacking each other. We also have infected animals, which we've seen as well. So there are runners, which are infected wolves, infected bears known as ranger bears. So not only is the freakers and the humans out to get you, but also the wildlife as well. So let's look at the freakers in a bit more detail, because there are different types of freakers that you will come across across. So depending on how old you were when you were infected, this actually alters you in a different way. And the infected themselves, though they look like zombies, are actually alive. They will eat, they will sleep and drink, and they actually migrate with the weather. So the freakers are actually stronger in the snow, in rain, and also in dark conditions. Now, they are split into 4 types of freakers that we've been introduced to, which have been confirmed. I don't know whether they're going to be more in the game, but these have been confirmed. So we first have swarmers. These are the most common form of a freaker, and they roam around in small packs or giant hordes, which can number anywhere from 50 up to 500. We then have newts. These were basically children, adolescents when they were infected. They are smaller enemies that will actually target you when you're low on health. So they won't attack you if they feel that the situation is too dangerous to them. But if you're surrounded by swarmers and your health is low, then the newts might come in to try to sort of finish you off. We then have screamers. These remind me very much of the witch in Left 4 Dead. So they will effectively scream, it's in the name, and they will alert other freakers to your presence. And then finally we have breakers. These are tank-like brutes, and obviously they'll take a lot of bullets and a lot of damage to actually bring them down. So let's talk a little bit about the actual gameplay, because we've had a lot of information on the gameplay. So Deacon has his own drifter bike. This is your sole mode of transportation, and it is your own bike, so you will keep this bike throughout the game. You have to look after it, upgrade it, make it your own. At the beginning of the game, I think you start off with a pretty badass bike, and through the story something happens, but your bike gets stripped for parts, and for the rest of the game you're trying to build your own bike or level it back up to what it was previously. So most open world games, you know, they do give you an ability to jump from vehicle to vehicle, like with Grand Theft Auto 5 or steal horses, for example, in Red Dead Redemption 2. Well, this is a little bit more similar to The Witcher 3, you know, whereas Geralt had Roach, you have your own drifter bike. You could give it a name if you wanted to, but you basically need to take care of it because it's going to look after you as you're exploring the open world. So when you're traveling through the open world, your bike can actually take damage over time, so you will need to fix any damage, particularly if you're doing any jumps or any off-road driving and you don't land perfectly or you don't land just right. You can actually damage the vehicle and you will have to repair it. You will have to top it up with fuel as well, so you'll have to find this in the open world, and you will need to keep it safe from thieves and scavengers, so I guess it can be sold as well. You can upgrade and customize your motorbike, and this is generally key to survival. So in order to be able to explore new areas in the open world map, you will have to enhance certain aspects of the bike to make it more reliable, and we have been told there are 20 categories that you can actually upgrade with your bike. It also acts as a mobile save point, and it also allows you to carry limited amounts of extra ammo as well. You can customize the bike visually with both paint jobs and skins, and obviously as you're upgrading different components on the bike, these will show visually as well. So when you're out in the world and you're exploring the world, there is a variety of activities that you can do. Of course, you can pursue the critical story path, and this seems to be split into different sort of branching storylines. We've seen one on a world map which is called I Remember, which is where you're exploring Deacon's past with his wife and his history, and then the other one which is called Bounty Hunter we've seen as well, which is more of the sort of the main story moving forward. As well as traveling the open world, you can carry out missions and defend off freakers. You can actually carry out jobs for encampments, different human encampments, to build up trust, and as you do missions for them, you can collect something called freaker ears as you take down different freakers and reduce the threat of freakers in that area. The camp will start to trust you more, and that will actually unlock the ability to purchase weapons and much needed resources as well. If you clear out freaker nests and bandit camps as well, this will also increase your reputation. Specifically, clearing out freaker nests will actually open up and unlock fast travel points for you as well. And it is a huge open world map, so there are going to be a lot of collectibles for you to gain in the world. Apparently there are 241 collectibles, which is just absolutely insane, including character collectibles, tape recorders, herbs, landmarks, and these will all add character to the world and reveal a little bit more of the backstory as to, you know, how this event took place and how we got to where we currently are. I'm hoping we're going to have some kind of map that we can buy, or if we're going to be able to unlock these as you explore the world. We do know that Deacon has some kind of survival vision, very similar to Geralt in The Witcher 3, wherein if you sort of look through this vision, it will show you footprints and potential traps or collectibles or routes that you can explore to sort of relive events or work out what happened if you're sort of trying to track somebody down to save them. So let's talk about crafting and gadgets in the game. So crafting will play a big part of the game. You will actually be able to craft medicine, weapons, upgrades, and other useful items on the fly. I love the look of crafting in this game. It has this huge expanding crafting wheel, which looks really intuitive and it looks really great. You're not going to be jumping between lots of different menus, so I really like it. It definitely gives me a vibe of The Last of Us, and, you know, this whole crafting on the fly, you know, that kind of thing. So I really do like that element. Let's talk a little bit about the combat as well. So Bend Studio are calling the combat brutal sandbox combat, in that you can approach different hordes or different missions in a variety of ways. You can use your binoculars, which Deacon will have, to tag enemies and scout potential camps. You can choose to take down areas purely using stealth. So Deacon has a wicked looking knife which you can use to take down enemies. You can lay traps for them, and you can also weaponize freakers to use against human groups or marauders as well, depending on the time of day or the weather. You can also use the weather to your advantage. So in snow, for example, this will hinder not only your own visibility but also enemy AI. It will hinder their ability to see you as well, and rain will also dampen the sound that you make as well. So obviously in rainy conditions, that means stealth is going to be a much easier option. Of course, if stealth fails you, you can go in guns blazing. There are actually 3 weapon slots: sidearms, rifles, and special weapons. You also have melee weapons which you can use, but these will break over time. You can actually craft melee weapons, repair, and upgrade them throughout the game as well, using spare parts and that kind of thing, you know, that you find. We did see there was one where you got a pistol and you jimmied open a car boot or a car bonnet, and you got some kind of like part from the car, and you use this as a dampener, as a silencer for your pistol, so you could then use that pistol as a stealth weapon. So I really like that. We also have a crossbow as well, which is predominantly a stealth weapon itself. It will have different types of bolts. So we've seen fire bolts, which you can use to take down freaker nests and to force freakers to come out to fight you. And there are also something called residue bolts, which you use to attack enemies, and it will basically send one of them into a frenzy and cause them to attack their comrades, and it will create chaos and division within a camp, and obviously allow you to sneak in and either do some takedowns or whatever. What I really like about the crossbow as well is it's very easy to actually replenish your stocks from trees and wood, which you find out in the world. Let's talk a little bit about the leveling and progression as well. So there are going to be 3 specializations: melee, ranged, and survival. Each of these specializations will have 15 skills that you can unlock, and that is 45 skills in total that you can unlock. You basically get skill points by leveling up, and you gain XP from either killing enemies or completing missions. You can also permanently upgrade your health, stamina, and focus by finding what are called Nero camps. So Nero are the medical evacuation teams that were sent in by the government government to evacuate different areas. There are 12 locations in the main game that you have to find, and if you are able to solve the puzzle to gain access to these different facilities, you can actually gain access to special injections which you use to permanently upgrade again your health, stamina and focus bar. We know a little bit about the end game, so there is a mode called Horde Killer. We know there are huge hordes that are living and traveling between areas on the huge world map. There are actually 40 confirmed horde stomping grounds, and they range from anywhere from 50 to 500 freakers at any one time. We know in the main story you will come across maybe 3 groups of hordes during the course of the story, but obviously if you're wanting that platinum and you're wanting that 100% achievement, you might have to get all 40 stomping grounds. These are persistent hordes, so say for example if you take down 100, flee and run away because you have no choice but to do that, and then come back, there will be say 200 more left for you to take down, but they will gradually replenish over time, so obviously you need to really be careful to think about how long you're going to wait before you go and take them on again. So there were a few changes to the gameplay that we have learned. One change which had me a little bit sad: originally there were actually going to be choices that you could make in the story in the game, so whether to reveal certain information or kill certain characters or spare them. We saw some footage from Game Informer back in May last year in 2018 where you were tracking down an NPC character called Leon, and in that footage it showed the ability to either kill Leon or spare his life. It looks like those changes have now been removed from the game, simply because maybe it was too ambitious for them to do it, or it was too complex, and because they're dealing with this huge open world dynamic, and it's their first kind of, you know, original full open world huge AAA game, maybe they didn't want to put too much pressure on themselves and therefore chose to remove it. Maybe it's something they'll add on later on, hopefully if there's a sequel. We do know that PlayStation and Sony are very interested in this becoming a series, and if obviously Days Gone does well, then you know that definitely has a lot of potential in the future. We do also know that there is going to be DLC content, although not much detail has been revealed about that at the moment, so we don't know when it's coming out, what it's going to include, how much it's going to be, how big that content is going to be. We are obviously waiting for more details to be confirmed by Ben's studio. So how big is Days Gone going to be? The answer is big. The PS4 file size has been confirmed as 67GB install, which is pretty massive. Now obviously that does not take into account the day one patch. We don't know how big that's going to be at the moment, but if we compare it to similar games, you know, Horizon, Spider-Man, God of War, these were all about 45GB install from the disc, and obviously they were pretty big games in themselves and were amazing titles, so hopefully this is an indication that there's a lot of content here for gamers to get stuck in on. So how long is the actual story? Well, Ben's studio have confirmed that you can beat the main campaign, the main storyline, in about 30 hours, and that it offers about 6 hours worth of fully rendered cutscenes. Now as to the actual gameplay time, obviously that's going to vary depending on gamers, given the open world nature of the game. So if you're wanting to go for that platinum, that 100% completion, obviously you'd be looking at a lot more than the 30 hours that they're sort of stating to begin with. So that is everything that we know about Days Gone so far. I've got to say, you know, I'm kind of interested. It looks really, really good. I'm going to be picking up this game, and I will absolutely be playing it and reviewing it, and I might even showcase it in some live streams going forward. But that's everything we know about Days Gone so far. Let me know what you guys think of this game in the comment section below. Are you looking forward to it? What do you think about this information? Let me know what you think. Anyway, I hope you guys have a great week. Take care, and as always, happy gaming. Bye guys.